Alright, now it's time for another terrible review by me. This time it's going to be for Comix Zone for the Sega Genesis. Now, according to the internet, the 30th anniversary is today, so that's why I'm going to be doing this one. Now, I remember GamePro introducing this game to me with one of its coming up things, then its review, but I didn't buy the game. I rented it at Blockbuster either in 96 or 97, mainly from curiosity what it's like, but GamePro did not really speak positive about this game. In fact, GamePro only gave it a 2.5 for the fun factor. And, yeah, whenever I rented that game, I wasn't really blown away by it. I did love the music, I liked the graphics, but I didn't really like the control for the game. In fact, the control was kind of frustrating. Oh, excuse me. Okay. But first, let's go by the story. Let's go into the story. The story is Sketch Turner's working on this comic book called Comix Zone. Comix Zone. It's with an X instead of another C. Lightning strikes it. His main villain, Mortis, is it Mortis or Mortis? Well, whatever. Gets out. He basically puts Sketch in his own comic because if he kills him in his comic book, he becomes real. Mortis becomes real and he can be free of it. Sketch's comic is nothing more than that post-apocalyptic story. He's now the hero. He's a little irritated by what's going on, but he goes along with it. He now has to battle through 6 pages, basically 3 levels divided up into 2 pages. Night of the Mutants, Welcome to the Temple, and Curse of the Dead ships. Now, first 2 pages is basically hard and easy. Second 2 pages, hard and easy. Final 2 pages, actually, the final 2 pages are actually the easiest. Well, the final page to me is actually the easiest page in the game. But I'm going ahead of myself, okay? Basically, this is a game where you're in a comic book and you go from panel to panel. You even see Mortis draw the enemies. You gotta sometimes break the panel line to go further. And you get and this is one of those things that gives you the option when you defeat all the enemies in a panel. You can either move this way, or that way. I don't think you can go up. I might have to check it out. And again, well, you get items in this game, which is the old health, the knife, the grenade, the dynamite, the super punch, which turns into a superhero, and Sketch's pet rat, Roadkill. Roadkill can actually uncover hidden items in the pages. He rips it open, and he can pull levers to shut off stuff that's blocking your path. And he can also scare off the only female enemy, but not all the time. Roadkill, however, if he gets hurt, he'll fall off the page, and you'll have to wait later before you reclaim him. And when you first meet him, he's in a cage, but this is what's really annoying about this game. Anytime Sketch punches a solid thing, his energy will go down. Yeah, it's one of those games. He only gets 1 life. Unless you beat 2 pages, then he gets to continue. If you beat another 2 pages, he gets another continue. But every time you continue, you restart the entire page all over again. This can be annoying because all the enemies do reset. Or at least I think they do. I believe they do. I haven't played this game in a while. I've watched a long play. I've been watching long plays of it right now. Okay. When I rented this game, the 5th page was as far as I could get. I went to this game store and I told the guy about it, and he says, even though he hasn't beaten it, is one of his all-time favorite games, and I asked him how far he got, he said the 5th page, which is, I'm pretty sure, where a lot of people got to, because I think a lot of people might agree the 5th page is the hardest page in the game, because it's got the lava. But, oh boy. This is, whenever you're, on stuff, you gotta make sure when you're holding on bars and moving this way, hit the action button when you see an enemy. If you hit the jump button by accident, which I have done a lot, Sketch will just let go and fall to his death. That's really annoying. Oh goodness, it is annoying. You also have to watch out for certain enemies that can kill you, well, hit you and you'll just drop off too. The flying things with the stinger tails are like the most annoying enemy in the game. They only take 2 or 3 hits to defeat though, but they can still pose an annoying threat, such as getting too high where you can't get them and have to wait for them to come down before you can jump kick them. Now, Sketch does have, now to beat him up, he does throw the punches and everything, but if you motion the controls, you can actually do certain combos. I didn't know that because when I read it, it didn't come with a manual, so I didn't know about this. So I'm just constantly punching guys, and that was about it. You can also tumble roll, and you can do a charge attack. And, what else is it? Oh, yeah. His most powerful move, which unfortunately drains enemy, is ripping out a part of the page, making a paper airplane, and throwing it. And a paper airplane, surprisingly, can defeat a lot of enemies. But I haven't seen it clearly, but when it comes right back, you have to duck down, because I'm pretty sure it damages you, too. Oh, boy. Now, whenever you, play through the game, you're going to find yourself going to multiple path roads, which can be fun and annoying because but it helps you figure out which path you want to take, which one's the easiest for you, and as well as find the hidden things. Or these days, you can just get on the internet and look up all the pages of the map that has everything marked down. I've done that. Anyway, well, there are some that can just let you take shortcuts where you can skip a lot of stuff. But, the game does not have a password system, nor does it have saving. However, in later releases, re-releases, of course, they did put saving in. The only time I got a physical release of this was whenever the Sega released that collection of all their Sega Genesis games, well, a lot of them, for the PS2. That's what I mainly played it on. It was back in late 2010s when I finally got interested in playing that game again. Started up. And this time I was using the saving because I really did not want to start any pages over. I kept dying, reloading, trying again, working in a system, finding out where I should need to be going, and then finally I beat it. But I was like, Scott, now you gotta play through it without saving. You can do it. I did it. I think I had to use up one of my continues. I can't remember for sure, but I know I did beat it. After all, I witnessed myself do it. Oh, goodness. Now, the first boss is Big Mama Dragon at the end of the second page. She can be defeated two ways. One, you can take her on in combat, or two, you can get right below her and go underneath her and push this, oil drum. If you let her hit it with her flame attack, it causes her up on fire, and you just push it right underneath her, and the fire just kills her just like that. Kung Fung, who is obviously based off David Lo Pan from Big Trouble in Little China, only he's a lot better because, unlike David Lo Pan, he will actually meet you in combat. Because if you go back and watch Big Trouble in Little China, David Lo Pan really doesn't do much of anything in that movie. Neither does Lightning or Thunder. Rain's the only one that really meets anyone in combat, which is why he's my favorite. I think that character is totally underrated. Anyway, Kung Fung is more like shooting his fingernails. And whenever he does that, you actually can hit him a number of times. He'll go flying right in and impale on his own nails. It's kind of funny, but his other attack is when he's in the background, he'll throw fireballs that will cause explosions on the ground where you're at, but you just can jump over them, but you gotta make sure you type it. Sometimes he'll do it at one side, sometimes he'll keep going like this, but you just gotta go left, right, or whatever. What am I doing? Left, right, there we go, Scott. Okay. Alright, after you beat Kung Fung, at the end of the final page is Mortis. You can either meet him in combat, or you can do the cheap way, and there's a switch that will activate this engine that will explode where he's at, and you only have to hit him 6 times with that. So Kung Fung is the only boss that cannot be defeated in 2 ways. He's the only boss that you have to truly meet in combat. He's the second boss, not the final one, which is actually kind of shocking. But anyway, whenever you take on Mortis, the woman who's helping Sketch, he put her in this thing and starts filling it with this liquid, and, well, this is how you get the game's good ending, because whenever you beat him, you got to flip the switch and drain it and save her, but if she drowns, you'll get the bad ending. The good ending is Sketch and her escape get out of the comic book, get married, live happily ever after. His comic becomes a big hit. She joins the military and gets a high rank, and Roadkill gets all this mozzarella cheese and gets to roam the sewers anytime he feels like. And it even goes by the rule that it ends, they live happily ever after. So the game never set itself up for a sequel, because the way it ended, it was just a standalone story, which is pretty good. A lot of video games can only be that. I actually have played a number of games I felt would have worked perfectly fine as standalone stories. Believe it or not, I actually will say I think God of War should have been a standalone story, and I'm pretty sure you all are now mad at me for saying that, but the way that first game ended, I didn't think there needed to be a franchise. Anyway, Comix Zone has great graphics, great soundtrack, but unfortunately the control and the difficulty will drive you nuts. Control's not too bad, but yeah, you're gonna have to get used to it, and this is a game you will have to learn from your mistakes and replay it a lot. And I mean a lot. It can only be like 30 minutes of your time if you play once you get memorized and all that stuff. But according to GamePro, I don't know if this is accurate, but it said it cost $69.99 back in '95, and I don't think that's accurate. But if that is, I think I can understand why this game underperformed, because with that price and that game's short length, it wasn't worth that. Because these days you can get that game for like a downloadable thing for a fraction of that. And that's actually more worth that's the right price for that. Yeah, they keep saying, oh, it only bombed because it came out at the end of the Sega Genesis life cycle, and I'm like, Vectorman came out 2 months later, and it was a success and had a sequel the following year, so I don't think that's what happened. Yeah, I always hear those guys say, oh, it's underrated, it was overlooked, it just came out. I'm like, it's not underrated, it wasn't overlooked. I think I can understand why a lot of people don't like it, and I understand why a lot of people did not buy it. So stop saying that! Well, in the end, I'm just going to say I agree with GamePro. I thought the game was just okay, but yeah, the graphics and soundtrack. The soundtrack's the best part. Oh man, is that music good. But, well, I'm not a big fan of this game. Fact is, I wrote a parody of it I call Halloween Candy in my Terrible Tales series that I have published on the internet. This is about a guy named Jack Prowler who basically is going to try and get his little brother's Halloween candy back. A bat named Jackie, the jack-o'-lantern-nosed bat, steals his younger brother's bag of candy, takes it out to a graveyard, and when Jack enters the graveyard, finds himself in this dark, mysterious world where he's being watched by a being known as, well, okay, I'm using the name The Watcher. I'm also using Pumpkinhead, and I'm also using Skullface, the 3 most notable nicknames in history. Or at least I think they are. Well, Jack basically has to go through a cemetery, a forest, and a castle battling creatures of the night, mainly zombies and giant eyeballs, to get to the Watcher, beat him, and get out of the cemetery and get his hot brother's Halloween candy back. That's my parody of it. I also have a side story where this guy was going to throw a party. Unfortunately, the guy delivered kegs of beer early. Yes, I'm basing that off Dazed and Confused, but I actually did a twist because I always thought this would have been funny for that film. What if they called the police and every time those party guys showed up with the beer or the drugs, the cops just showed up out of nowhere, like erupting from the ground, jumping out of windows, ambushing them, taking this like beyond seriously and arresting them. And at the end of the film, this like shows like pretty much have the entire school spending the night in jail. Because that's how my book ends. When Jack is successful, he goes to school and he looks left and he looks right and he's like, where is everybody? Because he's the only student there because everybody got arrested because they went to that party and they all had drugs and beer on them, and then, the drugs are illegal and they're all underage for beer. It ends with Kenny trying to get out of town because he was the guy throwing the party because he now knows everybody's going to kill him for this. And, well, Jack gets a little frisky with his teacher, the beautiful named Crystal, while Jackie, the jack-o'-lantern-nosed bat, takes a human anthropomorphic form and has her way with Kenny because, well, Kenny got what he had coming. He was throwing a party with drugs and alcohol, and those are illegal, and booze are illegal if you're underage. Oh, God, I'm a terrible comedian. Well, anyway, Comix Zone is okay. Great graphics, great soundtrack, gameplay a little frustrating, and if you don't have difficulty playing it, too short. But still, give the game a look. You may disagree with me. If you do, don't worry about it. And if you don't check out my book, don't worry about it. I really would appreciate it if you would read Halloween Candy and buy a paperback, too. That would make my day! But you don't have to. But, thanks for watching, and, well, say if today is the 30th anniversary of Comix Zone, well then, happy 30th anniversary to your game. Not a bad game, just not a great game. And it's not overlooked because, especially with that dang price, if that is accurate.